Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you enter in, please hit the like button. I really would appreciate that. Make sure to please hit that like button as you enter the chat. And my computer is acting a little bit wacky, so please bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's topic, as you see, is R&B dead? And I thought about that also. Hey, Michelle's daughter, how you doing this evening? I actually thought about it a couple of weeks ago, and it really hit me more with, obviously, yesterday would have been Michael Jackson's 64th birthday. Now, I do understand also that Michael Jackson's a lot bigger than just R&B. In fact, in my opinion, when they call him the king of pop, to me, that's doing Michael a disservice because he was much bigger than pop music. I always make the case that, number one, he's probably got the most distinct voice in all of music's history. Guys like Michael Jackson, Prince, they sort of supersede music. But obviously you get what I'm talking about when I mention like R&B. But obviously, and I'm obviously going to give my opinion, but I also want to hear your opinions as well. And later on, I will be dropping the link. So if anyone wants to share their opinions, they're more than welcome to do so. And again, please hit the like button. Now, a couple of weeks ago, P. Diddy, and everybody knows that I'm not a huge fan of P. Diddy, but I have to acknowledge what he has meant to hip-hop and R&B music. And I can also make a case that he's part of the reason that, R&B is going through what it's going through right now. Now, on August 17th, Diddy took to Instagram Live for a conversation with Timbaland, on which he posted the question, who killed R&B? And in an impassioned speech, now this is according to NME magazine, Diddy said, R&B is MFing dead as of right now. The R&B I made my babies to, R&B got to be judged to a certain thing. It's the feeling, though. No, it's a feeling. You got to be able to sing for R&B, and then you got to tell the truth. R&B is not a hustle. This ish is about feeling your vulnerability. You got to MF and make a N-word D hard or a woman's V wet, he added. I'm trying to keep it clean, of course. I do want this to be monetized. He said, you got to cry. You got to be able to get your girl back. I don't want to hear all this BS. It's our fault for accepting anything less for anybody getting on a mic. I feel like there was a death of R&B singing, and I'm a part of bringing that ish back. I ain't feeling no emotions. Again, this was P. Diddy and how he felt about the current state of R&B. Now, one of his proteges, obviously, is Usher, and he feels a little bit differently. But before I get to that point, I will highlight you, Michelle's daughter. You said you honestly don't listen 99% of R&B music right now. Yeah, late 80s, early 2000s. I sort of feel the same way, Michelle's daughter. In fact, I'll go one step further. No, I know. I know what you meant. Don't even worry about the typos. You know what I mean? I do that all the time. So Trust me, this is a judgment-free zone when it comes to that. Um, I'll I'll even go back to some of the mid '60s when it comes to R&B, but I'm also a little bit older than you are. So, but my era was basically the same thing, late '80s, like the New Jack Swing era, and P Diddy has a huge thing with that. He has a, I mean, obviously when he was with Uptown Records, and of course he gave us Jodeci and people of that nature. So, hey, Candy Love, how you doing this evening? Hello, everyone. I just want to say that if everyone gets back to making their own music and stop remaking old classic R&B, there's you will see who has real talent. I get what you're saying, but and listen, and I'm going to be fair. I'm going to give a fair assessment a little bit later, but let me say what Usher, who is obviously um, a protege of one of Diddy's proteges. Here's what he says. It sounds crazy, especially knowing he was a pioneer in understanding and a beneficiary of it. Usher also said, the source that is R&B created the breath of life that was breathed into hip hop. It wouldn't be. There would be no hip hop if there were not R&B. So it's blasphemous to hear people say anything, especially hip hop cats, to say anything about R&B. Hey, pretty brown eyes, how's everything? Now, another person who defended R&B was Mary J. Blige, who also appeared on Diddy's live stream, and she commented, "You can't kill something that's in our DNA. It's going to keep transitioning from generation to generation to generation and so on. They was trying to kill it. Before I say what I'm going to say, let me just say this. I want to thank all the radio stations around the country that are playing R&B music and sincerely supporting it." She added, "But a lot of the radio stations killed it for the same thing that Tank was saying. They ain't going to jump on the bandwagon of whatever the hottest thing is. But let me just say this. We have to keep ourselves alive as R&B singers." And that's very interesting considering she is the queen of hip hop soul, but she definitely, as we know, is a great R&B singer in her own right. I mean, she definitely has the resume for it. Now he just had his new first he meaning Diddy returned this summer with his first new song in 5 years with the feel good anthem "Gotta Move." I have not heard that song. I'll be the first to tell you. Now, another person who responded to Diddy was Chris Brown. And you can make the case that Chris Brown is one of the very few real superstars left in R&B. Just give me 1 second. And what Chris Brown said is pretty interesting. Again, please hit the like button. I really would appreciate that. Just one moment. Again, please bear with me also because, like I said, this computer's acting a little crazy here. Hey, listen, I get it. I definitely get it. I'm not a huge. I respect what he's done throughout his career. I can't say that I'm a fan either way. Oh my goodness! I hope you are. You know what? I hope you feel better. I really hope you feel better. And already, hot tea with lemon and honey, always the the best thing with that. And a clove of garlic also. That's the best thing for, obviously, a bad cold. And chicken soup, of course. Jaheim and Mary J. I can listen to all day. Jaheim, of course, reminded me anyway of Teddy Pendergrass. Mary J. Blige also. Listen, Mary J. Blige, again, she is the original queen of hip-hop soul. It's amazing how quick the time goes, no question. Oh, I figured she would. And I did, I'm pretty sure she told you that I texted her earlier. So, just a moment. Now, Chris Brown, as I mentioned before, got back at Diddy. He says, when's the last time you heard a slow song on the radio? This was August 19th, 2 days after Diddy's impassioned speech. N-words are saying R&B is dead. Respectfully, shut up, he continued. People nowadays want fast food instead of a real meal. Don't blame the real singers out here, because what channels do people have to see music videos? BET damn sure don't, neither does MTV. Then the industry be forcing S on people when the real music lovers know that ish is garbage. Chris Brown concluded his rant by saying, R&B ain't dead, y'all N-words just ugly, posted alongside a series of crying, laughing emojis. These N-words saying R&B is dead, it ain't dead. A lot of people are deaf to what real music is. Damn near every rapper want to be a singer. And he ended it, of course, by saying, I don't know what the F Puff talking about. Now, he does bring some very, very interesting things, and you know what, Chris Brown is pretty much right when it comes to that. When Chris Brown is pointing the finger at BET and MTV, he is 100% right. He really is. I mean, but we can also blame YouTube for that, because there's really no need for MTV and BET really to show videos, because let's face it, we're watching videos on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. We're not really watching outlets like BET and MTV anymore. And he is right about people not really wanting, they go for the fast food or the fad. I get it. And he's absolutely right. Now, when I'm thinking, and you can make the case, listen, when you're thinking R&B singers, I mean, Chris Brown is sort of pop R&B, and Usher is also, for that matter. I mean, you can say that they're not real singers, so to speak, but, I mean, let's face it, they are great performers. I mean, Chris Brown, obviously, Michael Jackson thought so highly of Chris Brown that he said that he was the next big thing, that he was the entertainer that was closest to him. So no matter how you feel about Chris Brown, you have to give him and Usher their respect as far as great performers, and they are great performers. And we just had recently the Usher Challenge, of course. I mean, Usher can definitely, he can carry a note, so to speak. Now, I'm going to give my opinion, and again, I'm going to open up the StreamYard to anybody who wants to chime in, because I like to interact, and obviously there's more than one opinion. I mean, to me, there's obviously not a right or wrong when it comes to this topic, because let's face it, we've had this same discussion when it comes to hip hop. Now, in my opinion, to me, hip hop has sort of blurred the lines. R&B and hip hop have sort of blurred the lines of each other, and they sort of usurped each other's power, so to speak. And it started way before this. I mean, you could make a case that, you know, the auto tunes, of course, has watered down R&B, because if you press a button now, you're a star with all the technologies. And that started way back when you think of the Al B. Shores of the world. And listen, I hope that Al B. Shore is doing better, because I know he wasn't doing too well. I know he was he was hospitalized not that long ago. I hope that he's doing a lot better. And to Al B. Shore's credit, he is and was a wonderful producer. And he is also very instrumental in people like Jodeci being put into prominence. But I definitely get what Chris Brown is saying. Now, I can also make a case that in today's society, I think when it comes to R&B, I think the men are lagging behind the women when it comes to R&B. Now you know I already know that Michelle's daughter. In fact, I'll be sure graduated a couple of years before I did. Like I'll be sure and Heavy D, those guys were ahead of me. So yeah, he is from Mount Vernon. In fact, he used to work for Fabco Shoes a long time ago. But I digress. And again, all the best. We pray that he's doing better right now. But I'll be sure many years ago, and I'm pretty sure that this is somewhat common knowledge. Years ago, Quincy Jones had something called the Sony Innovator. Hey, Sheba Pisces Laveau, how you doing this evening? Good to see you. I want to say it was about 1985. It might be a little bit earlier than that, but there was a Sony Innovator contest in the mid-'80s that was handled by Quincy Jones. And I'll be sure won that contest. And that's how he got the recording contract and was able to put out that first album. And we all remember, and that was one of the very first albums that really encompassed the New Jack Swing, even though he doesn't really get enough credit for it. That was called In Effect Mode. That came out in 1986, and everybody remembers that song Night and Day. And listen, I'll be sure had the look of R&B, but as you know, in the Apollo, he could not hit that note, and you already know what happened with that. But I'll be sure, again, is a wonderful producer, one of the best. Yep, Northeast Bronx, Mount Vernon. Yeah, that's definitely my my old / new stopping. Well, old / somewhat stopping ground still. But you could see that R&B was sort of making the turn then, because let's face it, what with the maturation and the just huge growth of hip hop, R&B really has a symbiotic relationship with it now. And you could even see that back then with the New Jack Swing. Bobby Brown, of course, did a lot of rapping and things of that nature. Yeah, you know what you did was get Al B. Shore mixed up with Christopher Williams. And that's an easy thing to do. In fact, Christopher Williams, I think, is, if I'm not mistaken, he and I'll be sure a cousin somehow. I know that Christopher Williams lived in White Plains. I do know that. But I'm not, I think they're related. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that they are related. Pretty sure that they are related. And of course, Christopher Williams had a couple of huge hits. Don't Wake Me, I'm Dreaming, of course, from the New Jack City soundtrack. Even though my favorite song from Christopher Williams was Promises. But that's another story. But Christopher Williams actually was not. He's your favorite male singer? Okay. Yeah, Christopher Williams, he definitely, he had a good run. He definitely had a good run. Yeah, he did sing that Don't Wait. Yep, that's one of my favorites. Promises, promises we can't keep. That's one of my favorite songs. Especially when he goes, you never miss your water when your well runs dry. Sorry, I'm sorry. I just had to do that. But yeah, Christopher Williams definitely, he definitely contributed to the New Jack Swing era, no question about it. But that's when you can see the tide started turning. In fact, the aforementioned In Effect Mode, I remember he had that song with Slick Rick, If I'm Not Your Lover, If I'm Not Your Friend. That was actually a remix. But again, you can see where R&B was joined at the hip with hip hop, and it really started to blow up. And then you saw, obviously, in the 90s, the R&B singing groups really started to look like, I mean, you could see the hip hop influence. You definitely could, especially with Jodeci. I mean, Boyz II Men was more the clean cut group, but Jodeci was more in your face. BBD, of course, which is an offshoot of New Edition. And New Edition, of course, is huge when it comes, I mean, let's face it. New Edition is our generation's, oh, trust me, I had that CD of Michelle's Daughter. I definitely, man, in fact, I think I had it when it was a cassette tape, but that's another story. I'm just saying. And yeah, Timberlands, yeah. Those, oh gosh, y'all making me feel really old, but it's all good. New Edition, of course. I mean, that's, New Edition was like part Temptations, part the Jackson 5, of course. You could tell that influence. But they definitely had a lot to do with the marriage of hip hop and R&B. Especially if you remember Crush Groove back in the day, because New Edition was one of the groups that was on Crush Groove, even though they obviously didn't do any hip hop, but they really helped fuse it. Now, to me, Sheila E. had no business in that movie, but I digress. I mean, I guess she was a huge star at that time, even though we all know why she was a big star at that time. Even though she is a great musician in her own right. I'm not saying she's not. And listen, I liked Sheila E. But oh man. Oh, I appreciate that, Michelle's Daughter. I appreciate that so much. Oh, bless you. And you take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening now. Thank you so much. And yeah, those high school dances on Friday night. Oh God. Yeah, that was something. Now you're really making me feel old, but that's all right. But I think the male presence of R&B is not the same. The female presence of R&B is very strong. And that's you know what? And you know what, Candy Love? I get exactly what you're saying. Drake is more of a singer than a rapper to me. And I get it. I mean, first of all, that's a whole different era. And I understand that things are going to evolve. I get it. I mean, we're blessed to still have Frankie Beverly still around. I mean, part of it also is we lost so much. I mean, we lost. Luther died. He was relatively young. In fact, if you remember, I think Luther passed away and then Barry White. I might have gotten that wrong. I mean, Barry was a lot older than Luther, but Luther was about 51 when he passed. Of course, we already know with the tragedy of Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, and Prince. I mean, we lost these people when they were relatively young. Again, Michael Jackson would have only been 64 years old. I think Prince is the same. I'm not sure if Prince is the same age or slightly younger than Michael Jackson, but I mean, they're definitely around the same age. Yeah, the high school football games, that's Friday Night Lights. That's well, obviously that's Texas. But you know what? Here I'm gonna drop the link here. This is the link. So anybody who wants to chime in, because I don't want to just dominate the whole thing. But listen, are there good R&B artists that are out right now? Again, to me, it's mainly on the female side. Like, to me, Jasmine Sullivan is very good. Her, to me, she's like the female Prince. Now, are there any good R&B singers right now on the male side? See, I don't know if I consider Mario really current, but Mario is a good R&B singer. Obviously, Miguel is very good. So I don't want to say that R&B is dead. You can make the cases on life support, but you know what? So is hip hop, and so is music in general. If you really want to get technical, I didn't even bother to watch the VMA Awards. I didn't even bother, but I did try to watch the BET Awards, and goodness, that was bad. That was bad. Now, there were some parts of it that was pretty decent, and I understand that there's probably, when it comes to, there's probably a generation disconnect too, but listen, they're all not, they're not singing about anything. Yeah, because see, that's also the real truth. The real truth is, people tried to make it a competition, like there was a hate between Prince and Michael Jackson, and there nothing could be further from the truth. They both admired each other. I mean, they both respected each other. I mean, Prince actually, I don't know how Michael felt about Prince, but I do think that there was I definitely think there was some love there, no question about it. Love and respect. They both went through a lot, obviously. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Prince used to tell the story about he was supposed to be the one in Bad, but he wasn't going to play that part. But no, I mean, Michael and Prince they respected it and had true love for each other, no question about it. I mean, those those are two giants. And yes, I. Good evening, Miss Candy Love. How are you doing this evening?
Fine. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly.
Okay. It's been a while since I've been on YouTube, but I only come to your station now.
Oh, bless you so much.
Yes, you have some good topics, but I'm gonna have to say, what's her name? Ari Lennox. She seems like pressure.
Yo,
Uh,
yeah, she's very good. Also, she's very.
she's good. I mean, I just think I like more of the newer stuff is just too much with rap, and then it's R&B. But I do like Mario. Like I said, I love me some Jaheim now. But I don't know. I like the live bands. If you can sing on stage live and no background or behind you, I'm good with it. But I gotta give it to T-Pain. The man can really sing. He don't need all that.
I think that's what makes it more frustrating,
Yes.
because I have heard him outside of auto tunes, and he does sound very good.
Yes.
It's like he's so connected with auto tunes, I think,
Right.
where
He's very talented. He makes his own beats, but the man can sing.
yes, he really can, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
remember back in the day, and listen, obviously auto tunes is not a bad thing. I mean, we remember back in the day, Stevie Wonder was one of the pioneers when it comes to auto tune.
Yeah, we can't forget Roger Troutman now. You
I
can't.
was thinking there, trust me, but Stevie, see, I had to go in chronological order.
I know.
Stevie was the man first with that. Well,
Right. Right.
say Sly Stone. I mean, if you want to go,
Right.
but I had to put Stevie there because we know that Stevie's an innovator, and of course Roger Troutman and Zapp.
Yes.
Guys,
Yes.
and listen, he could sing.
Yes.
The voice, of course, was Shirley Murdoch.
Of course. Of course.
Another chapter, obviously, in another book. And see, that's the thing. We know that R&B and hip hop has evolved, but it's like everything else. Again, to me, part of it is a generation gap, and part of it is definitely a talent gap.
Right. I do believe that. I do believe that.
Excuse me. Like, for example, I'll even go even 15 years ago. When you look at, you don't see the groups like Jagged Edge anymore. Now, those brothers can sing. Jagged Edge is a wonderful R&B group, but I don't even know if they would be as big right now. And they were wonderful.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't want to throw your topic off, but I just want to say that I love live music. My uncle is part of the Epsos. Now I can go all the way back, back with the doo-wop. So if you take doo-wop to R&B to what we have now,
oh, that's not even fair because now you're going back to the Flamingos.
Yes,
you're going back to oh my God, the Drifters, of course.
Yes,
you're going back to the Platters. I mean,
I'm sorry, y'all.
That's quite all right. You're going back to the days where people were on the corner.
Yes, but people enjoy to sing live. Now, no offense, I know there's like a lot of Beyonce fans. It's just so many people have like the music playing in the background. I remember when the Soul Train Awards, you had to sing that stuff live. Like, I can't even watch the awards no more. Like, it's no.
Well, the award shows have become a joke.
They have. They really have.
Not watching the award shows. I mean, I stopped watching the Grammys when Prince got jobbed out of all those Grammys.
Oh man, we ain't gonna talk about Prince.
They gave all those Grammys to Lionel Richie, knowing that Prince should have won for Purple Rain. That was I said
yes.
After Grammys, you can kiss my you know what. And I would just watch the Soul Train Awards. Speaking of the Soul Train Awards, one of the epic Soul Train Awards to me was when Michael Jackson performed Remember the Time after twisting his ankle.
Yeah.
And he came out there with the crutches, and he's the greatest performer of all time. And in my
But
opinion.
that lets you know real R&B. Like if you hear Michael Jackson now, it's like if that man is alive and made a beat today. Like classics.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, I'm just coming through. I'm sorry. But like I said, you be having some good topics and
No,
you make me jump on. Anybody else, I don't deal with this drama no more. But thank you so much.
no, thank you for coming on. And listen,
No problem. But yeah, keep it going.
I definitely will. And
Have a blessed one.
you too. Thank you
All
so much.
righty. Bye bye.
Thank you. Take care. Oh wow, I really appreciated that. Oh yeah, I remember Luther. Listen, Luther Vandross. Sometimes the band would outshine Luther. That's how good his bands were. I mean, now Slick Rick was another one, no question about it. Slick Rick actually was the precursor for Prince because he took Prince on his first tour, got him opened up, and that's where Prince got a lot of his. Prince has a lot of influences, but then he and Rick James got it. They had an altercation, and listen, Prince was young back then. Prince was about 17 years old, so he was just finding his way. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Rick James definitely. It's a shame that the only Grammy that Rick James ever got was because of MC Hammer having to credit him for production for Can't Touch This. That's an absolute joke. When you look at everything that Rick James did in his career, the fact that that was his only Grammy lets you know how big of a joke the Grammys are, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, and you know what? Here's the thing also that I will say. I don't know how many classic songs are being done now. See, we can always go back. There are certain songs in R&B which are just classics. I don't even need to tell you who sang certain songs. Like when I say Just My Imagination or My Girl, you know off the bat, Temptations. Nobody is touching that. Obviously, with Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. But again, you know what? I'm going to put Michael Jackson and Prince. That's a whole different deal. I'm not even going to bring those guys up. But let's say a group like the Osley Brothers, so to speak, Living for the Love of You. Yeah, Hey Young World. Yep, that's right. The Great Adventures of Slick Rick was the name of that. I wore that cassette tape out, let me tell you. Because Slick Rick was one of the guys who changed everybody's style in hip hop. Guys like Slick Rick, Rakim, KRS-One, Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane, those guys pushed the envelope. It made people change the way their style of rapping. And Slick Rick is one of the world's greatest storytellers. Hey Young World is one of those songs, no question about it. Hey Young World, the world is yours. Oh yeah, Eric B. and Rakim. Rakim Allah is the GOAT, no question about it. He's one of those guys. He definitely changed hip hop forever. You know, when Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick did the show, that was the first game changer. But obviously, Eric B. and Rakim, that entire album changed everybody's styles. Eric B. for President, that song changed everyone's style. Then they followed up with My Melody, Paid in Full. I mean, please, that will be. Those are raps that they'll never go away. It changed the whole genre, and hip hop has been at the forefront Run DMC had its turn, and they helped bring hip hop in the mainstream, and they will never be forgotten for that. There's no question about it. But Eric B. and Rakim turned hip hop into hip hop. And I understand that Kool Herc was the guy who termed it the phrase. I understand that Africa Bambaataa was huge in spreading it throughout the tri-state area. But Eric B. and Rakim, when they did Eric B. for president, they changed everything. And it forced everybody to up their game. No question about it. Now, when it comes to R&B music, again, it seemed like R&B, and remember, R&B was like the older, it was like the older, the grandfather to hip hop, so to speak, even though, of course, you can go back to dance hall when it comes to hip hop, but Bally's, yeah. That's because of Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, the Bally shoes. That was their thing. It's crazy. I did have one pair of Bally's, but I was wearing, back in the day, it was suede Pumas. We would wear suede Pumas back then. It was either suede Pumas, and Nike was just starting to come out, and everybody thinks Nike was big because of Michael Jordan. That's only partly true. Bo Jackson was really the first big athlete that Nike had hitched their wagon to. Hey, Lady Tia, you know what? Oh, you said that you are with Chris Brown? Yeah. And I understand exactly what Chris Brown is saying, and I'm not saying that he's wrong on that. There's no question about it. But what I will say is R&B is somewhat on life support because, to me, the male groups in R&B have fell off so much. The male singers have fell off. I think on the women's side, R&B is doing a lot better. That's just my opinion. But I think the males have to step up their game when it comes to R&B. Yeah, in fact, you know what's so funny? What you bring that out when MWA came out, I was actually stationed out in 29 Palms in California when they had came out. MC Hammer was huge. That was before MC Hammer really got big, but he was just coming out. He was wearing Troop, Let's Get It Started, and all that other stuff. But really, and it's so funny, Ice-T came out first with 6 in the morning. And that's when NWA decided, oh man, somebody from Cali, even though actually he's originally from New Jersey, Ice-T, but that's another story. Yeah, Carl Thomas, that CD, the first one, is a classic CD, no question about it. That Emotional was great. Summer Rain. That whole thing. Superstar was a great song too. That's a slept-on classic, Superstar. But man, and guys like that are missing in R&B, the Carl Thomases of the world. I remember Music Soul Child, I believe, came out around that time too. When he came out with Love, man, that was a huge. That CD is nice. And the neo soul era was huge. Obviously, the king of neo soul, Maxwell. I understand that there's a Philly thing. Mainly the neo soul guys came out of Philly. I mean, the Jill Scotts, of course. Angie Stone, obviously Erica Badu, even though she's from Texas, but Jill Scott. But yeah, Brian McKnight was wonderful, wonderful. In fact, I guess you guys saw the Martin reunion where Brian McKnight came out, and he can still sing. Brian McKnight looks great, I tell you. Brian McKnight, he's one of those guys. Yeah, see, we don't have those guys anymore, really, in R&B. I'll tell you a slept-on person when you talk about old school R&B. James Ingram is one of the most unsung singers of all time. See, those are the guys who are missing from R&B. The James Ingrams is, Peebo Bryson, Glenn Jones. See, there's a lot of, and when it comes, I'm talking about groups also in the 90s. What about Mint Condition? I mean, Stokely could sing. I mean, these guys were great singers. Well, I mentioned Maxwell again. He's the king of neo soul. Maxwell's one of those guys. And I tell you what, I understand that we know Jeffrey Osborne, of course. LTD, Jeffrey Osborne. I mean, that's one of those guys, man. And remember the Woo Woo song? But see, we are missing the Earth, Wind, and Fires. We are missing the Ohio Players. See, we don't have. See, the big bands are gone. It's so much cheaper and easier to press a button in the studio. That's a huge problem. So those great bands that you had in the 70s and early 80s, even if you want to put the time up there, you are more than welcome to do that, because the time with Morris Day, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Jesse Johnson, I mean, those were great bands. Prince and the Revolution was a great, and even the New Power Generation, those were great bands. Prince played over 120 instruments. You talk about genius level. That man is genius. Maxwell, you know what? I think Maxwell, because Sade, and listen, I like Sade, but Sade's a little bit depressing. You know what I mean? To me, anyway. I mean, when Sade starts with, and listen, she's got a unique voice, but sometimes I have to be in the mood, because she'll put you to sleep like, oh my God, I feel that. Your love is king. I'm like, okay. I mean, Maxwell, my favorite Maxwell song is Lifetime. And that's me and my wife's song. I mean, that's our song. And I love the words in R&B are not even the same. Because that particular song, he gets you with the beginning. I was reborn when I was broken. And if you get a chance, just listen to the lyrics of Lifetime. And to me, that's Maxwell's best work. And before I get to Max, and you know what? One of the people who wrote for Maxwell, and Maxwell's a great writer in his own right, but if you remember Fortunate, which is one of Maxwell's biggest songs, you remember who wrote that song? It's R. Kelly. And let's face it, there is a big void with R. Kelly not being part of music anymore. We know, obviously, what has happened throughout the news and everything, but R. Kelly no longer being the king of R&B is a huge void in R&B. Because say what you want about him, and I will never condone what he did. But as far as being a musical genius, R. Kelly is right there. When you write, arrange, and produce, the man he's in his own he's in his own lane also. That's an interesting question. Do I think it's the record label's fault because Quincy didn't just put anyone on it? Listen, Quincy Jones has a right to do that. I mean, his name is on that label. I don't like what Quincy Jones has done in disrespecting Michael Jackson and his legacy, and I don't like how he has talked about Richard Pryor and Marvin Gaye, knowing that they're not here to defend themselves. I don't like that. Oh, listen, that's one of my songs from Maxwell, Bad Habits. I'm a huge Maxwell fan. Huge Maxwell fan. If you want to tell, if you want to know who my favorite artist of all time is, it's hard for me to pick one. My top 5, and again, Prince was one of my favorites. If I had to listen to one person and one person only for the rest of my life, it would be Marvin Gaye. Because to me, Marvin Gaye, he put out the most important song of all time, and it matters more today than it did even when he sang it. What's Going On? So if I had to pick one person to listen to for the rest of my life, and it had to be one person, it would be Marvin Gaye. Prince is a very eyelash close second. Stevie Wonder would be right there. And listen, I can't leave the females out now. I mean, I'm huge with Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight and the Pips. I mean, those, I know, and he talked about that too, by the way. He talked about that also. And, first of all, he's infatuated with the Caucasian woman anyway. Remember, he was married to Peggy Lipton. And as you're talking about Marvin Gaye, and that was Anna Gordy, who was his ex-wife, and that was the sister of Berry Gordy. And that's that. In fact, the name of that album is Here, My Dear. It was a commercial flop, but it was a masterpiece of an album. Yeah, listen, I'm a huge Marvin Gaye guy, so that's my guy. So it's just very, I would say it's sad, the state of affairs of R&B, but I could say the same thing about rap music now. I mean, look at the difference. The same way we're talking about how R&B has changed and not for the better, we could definitely say that about hip hop. I mean, there's no more KRS One's really. There's no rock hymns. But the one thing I will say about hip hop, there is a J. Cole. Nas is still somewhat relevant. There is a Kendrick Lamar. So we can definitely say that. Lionel Richie and female Aretha Franklin. Lionel Richie to me, and like Commodore's Lionel Richie was wonderful. And Lionel Richie gives you some flashbacks now and then. But when he started doing Hello, I just couldn't. I couldn't rock with him. I just couldn't. And again, when the Grammys gave him all those awards that should have went to Prince, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Aretha Franklin is the queen of soul. That's it. I mean, there's Aretha Franklin. Again, there's Gladys Knight and the Pips. There's Patti LaBelle. And thank the Most High that they're still with us. Yeah. Now, ironically, my favorite Lionel Richie song was when he was with the Commodores. Zoom is my favorite song of his. Because he really, if you want to say Sail On, Brick House, of course. But yeah, I can't stand that song. Oh my god. Is it me? And the video wasn't bad, but I just couldn't take it. Remember, at that time, he's writing songs for Kenny Rogers because he wrote Lady. He's the reason Kenny Rogers got big because he wrote for Kenny Rogers. Excuse me, Kenny Rogers got paid off of that, but that was Lionel Richie's song. Conversely, Dolly Parton is the lady who wrote "I'll Always Love You," but we all know that it'll be forever known as Whitney's song. But to be fair to Dolly Parton, she was the person who wrote it. "Love Will Find a Way" is a wonderful song. That is probably Lionel Richie's last great song, in my opinion. That's a wonderful song. Yeah, well, LL Cool J, I can easily make the case that LL Cool J has had the greatest career in hip hop because he was there from the very beginning with Run DMC. Well, he was there when The Fever came out. And anybody who knows anything about The Fever, that is where a lot of early hip hop started with the Fat Boys, Run DMC, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. That was Andre Harrell. He was in that group. That was really he was there from hip hop's infancy, and the fact that he's still relevant right now, even though obviously he's doing NCIS Los Angeles. But let's face it. Oh, listen, Stevie Wonder, please. Stevie. Oh, Patty Austin's one of the most unsung singers. Her and James Ingram would do so many wonderful duets. Huge Patty Austin fan, no question about it. And yeah, of course, Michael McDonald's, yeah. Don't worry. Michael McDonald was wonderful with the Doobie Brothers. Wonderful singer. I tell you who else was slept on. See, that's the great thing about music too, because that breaks down all color barriers. It breaks down all barriers, period. Because if you're great, you're great. It doesn't matter. I mean, Michael McDonald is one of those guys. I remember him with the Doobie Brothers, his solo stuff, the stuff he did with James Ingram. Kenny Loggins is also another one of those wonderful. He was a wonderful singer. Wonderful singer. I mean, Hall and Oates back in the day, the Bee Gees, they always sounded like they were little crybabies. Like Andy Gibb, remember? Because they're all Gibb brothers. Hey, you're back. How about that? Thanks. What was that? Oh God. Staying alive. Yeah, I remember that. Saturday Night Fever. Now, it's crazy. Like, Andy Gibb had a couple of good songs. Shadow Dancing. Give me more. Shadow Dancing. Baby, you give me right. Yeah. Phil Collins, of course, Air of Night. Yeah, Phil Collins. The 80s was special, too. The 80s. Again, Boy George with Culture Club could sing. George Michael was a wonderful singer. George Michael, I had to give him his props. What was Oh my gosh, what was that? Somebody told me if everything she wants is everything she sees. That was a wonderful song. Wonderful song. Simply Red, that's a good one too. That's a good one too. Holding back the years. Yeah. Yeah, singing with Barbara Streisand. Yeah, I remember that. Barbara Streisand is a great singer, no question about it. I mean, again, I give respect where respect is due. I mean, there was just so much good music. And all genres of music. It wasn't just R&B. I mean, I could listen. I have a little bit of a voice left. Once in a while, I can catch a flashback. I'm gonna just put it like that. Yeah, there's always a reggae version of certain songs, no question about it. And listen, dance hall is definitely the cousin. It's the brother of hip hop. Dance hall is the brother of hip hop. No question about it. Yeah, listen, he was MTV. If it weren't for Michael Jackson, we would have never gotten play on MTV. Michael Jackson forced them to take us seriously. Yeah, I just get flashbacks now. I can't. I would say about 25 years ago I could sing. Now I can carry a tune depending on the day. I'll just put it like that. But yeah. And then Run DMC, of course. Yeah, that big satellite dish. I remember, what was that, WHT? I don't know if you guys remember that. I mean, that was the only way you could get HBO. But back then, it was still home box office. I mean, that was that ugly thing where you had to turn the dial. It was like one big ugly box, and you had to turn that dial in the middle. And there was only about like 10 channels that actually worked, and the rest of them was like 2, 5. It would be CBS, NBC, ABC, because Fox wasn't even a network back then. That's how far. But you had Channel 9 and Channel 11 if you were in New York. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely telling my age on that. And it was a big deal if you had cable, because that's when you could get the pay-per-view fights. Because at that time, I think that's when Sugar Ray was fighting Hearns. I mean, that was the golden era of boxing too. But yeah, TV would go out at midnight unless, like, CBS would play movies late night. And of course, Channel 4 would have on Johnny Carson. And then after that, you would just see the barcode, and that was it. But yeah, MTV was huge. And Michael Jackson made it huge. If it weren't for Mike, we would not get any play on MTV. He was one of the very few. Michael and Prince, for that matter. Those were the only two people who were in rotation, really, on MTV. Then Run DMC would get played. Benny Hill. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he was funny. The Benny, he would come on Channel 9, I guess at 11:30. He got cable in 1992. Wow. Yeah, the Thriller dance, no question about it. Michael was so big in the early to mid 80s. He was the biggest star on the planet. And it was weird because, see, we all grew up watching Michael Jackson grow from when he was little, from when he sang I'll Be There, Dancing Machine, and all those. And then obviously the Jackson variety show. And then and his greatest Thriller was, in my opinion, Off the Wall was actually the better album. Off the Wall, Thriller's the bigger album. Off the Wall was the better album. And to me, that's the same thing with Prince. Purple Rain is the bigger album, but he had two albums that were better. The 1999 album was better than Purple Rain. Sign of the Times was infinitely better than Purple Rain. But again, with Mike, he grew up before our eyes, and he also did that right after we lost all of our leaders. When we lost Malcolm X, we lost Fred Hampton, we lost Dr. King, and he came out like right after that in fact, late 60s, or I think he came out in 69, 70. MASH. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was a big thing. Because I remember it was Wometco Home Theater, and then HBO branched out. It was only HBO and Showtime. Those were the only real premium channels. And now cable is a drop in the bucket. I mean, that's cable. You used to know who had a job and who didn't, from who had cable and who didn't. Or they were like spliced the cable and everybody had it. But anyway, I guess that's it, ladies and gentlemen, unless anybody else has something else to say. And I know it's starting to get late. We all have things to do tomorrow. I really thank you all so much for joining me. Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of cable myself. If I'm gonna do anything, it'll be through. I'll probably get like Roku or something like that. Cable been gouging the heck out of me, man. My gosh. As long as I have my internet connection, I'm good. I'm sick of my so-called cable company, even though they're actually. Truth be told, they're not terrible, but I'm just sick of them. They've made enough money off of me over the years. I'm just saying. But anyway, thank you all so much for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Candy Love. Thank you, Sheba Pisces Laveau. Thanks, Michelle's daughter. Thanks, Pretty Brown Eyes. Thank you, Lady Tia. Thank you, everyone who joined me this evening. Make sure to please like, share, and subscribe. UncleClaude signing out. Take care. Stay safe, everybody. And God bless.